Good day, everyone. I am Kayleen St. Davis, and for today, I'm going to have my oral recitation to our activity in ESN Math 20. So, the first question is: what do you think is the most important principle of effective teaching and why? So, as a pre-service teacher, for me, I think the most effective principle of teaching is active participation. It is because, as we all know, that mathematics is the most hated, or shall I say, the most boring subject for some students. So, if we have this principle, active participation or active engagement, we can see that our students is really learning because they are going to answer a series of questions, just like for example, if we're going to discuss the foil method, first is we're going to, of course, introduce the topic and let them understand the step-by-step process. Then the second one is, if when we're going to have an example, we let them answer questions such as multiplying the terms inside the binomial and turning it into a trinomial, in order for us to know if they're really listening or they are just there but not really listening at all. And also, active engagement or participation can improve conceptual understanding and long-term retention, in order for them to have this light bulb moment that, yes, I remember how to do that because we were asked by our teacher during our discussion. So, our next question is: can you share a personal experience where a teacher applied a learning principle effectively? So, um, the learning principle that I have noticed is scaffolding, because our teacher in grade 10 discussed the quadratic equations, wherein first, of course, she had introduced the topic to us in two manageable steps, then guide us throughout the way in answering the quadratic equations. Then, in the last part of the semester, or I mean in the quarter, she let us make a project wherein we're going to make our own equations or binomials, and we're going to make it into trinomials or to other algebra equations, so that we will know, or she will know, if we really did understand the concept. Then, in your own opinion, how does understanding learning theories influence classroom instruction? So, for me, if we're going to understand learning theories, we will really be guided in our lesson planning. It is because these learning theories are made for us to be inspired on how we're going to do, or how we're going to demonstrate our activities. Just like for example, if we believe in the constructivist theory, wherein we're going to tap into our students prior knowledge and let them construct a new one. So in this way, if you as a teacher will, or is going to do this step or this theory, you're going to tap into their previous knowledge. Just like for example, um, for example, radicals. Um, so just like for example, if we're going to discuss permutation and combination. So first we're going to discuss the types of permutation, what is permutation. Then the next day we're going to discuss the combination. In this way, we're going to tap into permutation first, so that they will be, they will remember what happened yesterday, and they will relate it to combination, which we all know that is quite similar. um, to each other. And also in other um, contexts, we can put it into a grade 7 class wherein we're going to discuss regular and irregular polygons, wherein first we're going to tap into their prior knowledge, which are shapes, right? Then we'll let them understand that shapes are polygons because they I mean, not all shapes are polygons because polygons are close to the closed figures that has lines and its straight lines composed in it. So, yeah, that's all. I mean, in this way, we can um, give them the step by step process and also let them connect their previous knowledge to the new one and create a new one. Then, number four, how can a teacher address diverse learning styles in a single classroom? So, um, we can use differentiated instruction for this one. Just like for example, if we're going to discuss fraction in our math class, the visual students would understand fraction when they can see pie charts. Then the auditory learners can understand this lesson through listening to your explanation, while kinesthetic learners can actually um, understand this lesson through letting them fold or letting them do hands-on activities in order for them to really grasp the concept that you are um, explaining. And for last one is the logical learners. They can understand the lesson through giving, if we're going to give them puzzles and also real world problems. Um, these series of activities will let them understand the lesson even if they have diverse needs and diverse learning styles. So the next one is, what are the advantages and challenges of using differentiated instruction? So I've already explained differentiated instruction beforehand because that was my answer. Um, Advantages is we can cater to our students' needs and we can make sure that they can really understand. But then also we also have the challenge such as time constraints, the resources if they are available. Just like for example in a fraction class, um, advantages is that we can give all the means so that our students can understand. But then again, do we have the luxury of time to do all the planned activities? Because as we all know, we have this hidden curriculum. What if something happens inside the class? So, time constraints and resources such as um, learning materials or instructional materials that are not available, most especially when you are located in the far-flung areas. And, adequate support, equality, and of course, it is very time consuming. Okay, then number six, why is it important to consider students' prior knowledge when when planning a lesson? So, I think it is important for us teachers to consider students' prior knowledge to eradicate misconceptions and also to let them realize that their past learning is really helpful to the new topic, because as we all know that in our education status here in the Philippines, we are in a spiral form. So we are giving students easy medium, and hard until in our curriculum. So if we consider students' prior knowledge, we we can know if they really understand the topics that were discussed to them by their teachers. Because if we assume that these students understand the lessons because they went to this grade level, then we can just what we can do is just to add more confusion to the students. Just like for me, for example, when I was in high school, I thought that PEMDAS is just PMTAS. But when I went to college and interviewed by Sir Banot, I was confused wherein PEMDAS is PEMDAS. And multiplication and division can be interchanged depending on where they are located, and of course, addition and subtraction. And I cannot blame my teacher that she did not add the exponent part. Is because we're just explaining simple arithmetic back then. So I really, E was not really there, or the exponent was not really there. So this misconception of PEMDAS was, I bought it until I reached college or entering college. So we as teachers really need to tap into previous um, discussion or previous knowledge in order for us also to eradicate confusion, so that our students can have proper knowledge and also good prerequisite, and they they will have a good understanding to the new lesson that we're going to let them acquire. So the next one is 7. What elements should always be present in a well structured lesson plan? So elements that should always be present in a well structured lesson plan is first is clear learning objectives. So without a clear learning objectives, we as teacher will not know what will be our direction. Then our engaging introductory, since we believe in the saying that um, first impression last, and introductory activities gives the mood or the setting of our discussion for that day. Also, explicit instruction, guided independence and practice, so that our students will, of course, have their own learning, can have the ownership of their own learning. Also, assessment and also assignments. These things are really needed in a well structured lesson plan to ensure that the lesson will be goal oriented, focused, and effective in letting our students grasp the concept that we are giving or that we are discussing to them. So, question number 8. How can instructional objectives be aligned with assessment strategies in mathematics education? So, in math education, aligning instructional objectives to with assessment strategies is very crucial in order for us to ensure that the students are being evaluated on the specific skills or concepts that they are expected to learn. This begins by clearly um, stating your learning objectives, such as the students will learn quadratic equations by using factoring and quadratic formula. So once your learning objectives are set, then you as a teacher must assign an assessment that will directly measure the skills. Just like for example, you you have the target objectives already, which is solving the quadratic equation using factoring and quadratic formula. Then you need to have an assessment that includes problem solving that would require the students to factor expressions and apply the quadratic formula rather than just defining it. Additionally, if a lesson objective involves reasoning or explaining problem solving processes, the assessment should include tasks like word problems or math journaling that requires written explanation. This alignment ensures that the instruction, practice activities, and assessment all support the same learning goals, leading to more effective and coherent teaching. So, let's proceed to question number 9. Can you suggest a strategy for turning a traditional math lesson into an interactive one? So, a traditional math lesson, which might be heavy on lectures and passive note taking, can be transformed into interactive strategies like think, pair, and share. For example, in a lesson on graphing linear equations, instead of simply demonstrating how to plot points, a teacher could first pose a question such as what happens to the graph when the slope increases? Students then think individually, pair up to discuss their ideas, then finally share their findings with the class. Alternatively, when we are going to use Desmos or GeoGebra, students can manipulate sliders to change the slope and the y-intercept values, observing real-time changes in the graph. These interactive elements engage students more deeply, promote peer discussion, and help visualize abstract concepts, thereby improving conceptual understanding of the lesson that you have given to your students. So let's move on to question number 10. Which active learning strategies do you find most effective in math? And how would you do and how would you use it? So one highly effective learning strategies in math is the problem-based learning or the PBL. In this approach, students are given real world problems and they must apply the mathematical concepts to find the solution. For example, in a unit of geometry, students might be assigned to design a floor plan um, in their home given the certain area constraints. They need to calculate the dimension using the formulas like areas and perimeters to justify their design mathematically. These strategies promote critical thinking and collaboration and application of math in authentic concepts. It also allows differentiated learning as students can approach problems in multiple ways and their own level of understanding. By placing students in the role of the problem solvers, problem-based learning fosters deeper learning and a more meaningful connections to mathematics. So we have here, sorry, number 11. When is it appropriate to use collaborative learning in a math classroom? So, collaborative learning is especially appropriate in the math classroom when tackling complex problems that benefit from multiple perspectives, or when the goal is to develop reasoning and communication skills. For example, during a lesson on data analysis, students can work to collect in groups to collect, organize, and interpret data then present their findings in the class. Collaborative learning is so effective when introducing new problem or solving strategies that would help the students to compare methods and also discuss errors and teach each other. However, for collaboration to be effective, the task should be structured so that the students contribute meaningfully. and roles can be assigned to ensure accountability. It is most powerful when students feel comfortable expressing their ideas and when the teacher facilitates rather than dominates the learning process. Why is the formative assessment crucial in the teaching learning process in math? So, formative assessment is essential in math education because it provides ongoing feedback to teachers and students. It helps teachers identify misconception early, adjust instruction, and provide targeted support. For example, using quick exit tickets after a lesson on fraction can reveal whether the students understand equivalent fractions before moving on. For students, formative assessments like peer reviews, self check quizzes, and guided practice can offer opportunities to reflect on their learning and correct errors in real time. Unlike summative assessment, which evaluates the learning at the end, formative assessment are low stakes and used through instruction to guide the learning process, leading to more better outcomes and more confident math learners. So, number 13. How can feedback be given constructively to promote students' improvement in math? So, constructive feedback in math should be specific, timely, and focus on strategies rather than simply right or wrong answers. Instead of saying, that's incorrect, you or a teacher might say, you have made a small error, but you you are quite there, or yes, your answer is correct, but I need a more um correct answer, or very good, who wants to answer, like that. So written or verbal feedback can include guiding questions like oh, so number 13. How can feedback be given constructively to promote students' improvement in math? So, constructive feedback in math should be specific, timely, and focus on strategies rather than simply right or wrong answer. Instead of saying that's incorrect, you as a teacher might say, you've made a small error when distributing the negative sign. Let's revisit the step together. Feedback should highlight what the students did well and what needs improvement, using growth oriented tone that encourages persistence. For example, you use good method to solve the equation, but double check your arithmetic in the final step. Constructive feedback can be written and verbal as well, including questions like, what might happen if you try a different method? This approach helps the student to feel supported and reduces math anxiety and foster a mindset that values learning from mistakes. So let's proceed to question number 14. What are some alternative assessments methods that can be used instead of traditional tests? So in mathematics education, alternative assessment methods can provide more comprehensive view of of students' understanding of the traditional test. Examples include math journals where students explain their problem solving process and performance tasks such as creating real life budgets or designing shapes with specific area of and perimeter constraints. Portfolio can showcase the collection of students over time, highlighting progress and learning growth. Project based assessment allows students to apply mathematical concepts and real world scenarios, while peer and self assessment develop reflection and metacognitive skills. These methods not only assess content mastery but also emphasizes reasoning, communication, and application skills, which are crucial to the crucial components of meaningful math learning. So let's move to number 15. Can technology enhance the learning outcome? Yes, technology can greatly enhance the teaching and learning outcomes in math by providing interactive, visual, and adaptive tools that cater diverse learners. Tools such as Desmos and or GeoGebra allows the students to explore graphs and geometry dynamically, helping them understand abstract concepts more concretely. Learning platforms such as Khan Academy and Edmodo support personalized learning paths and provides instant feedback. Teacher can also use visual manipulatives, games, and simulation to engage students in exploring number concepts and algebraic thinking. When used thoughtfully, technology increases students' motivation, enables differentiated instruction, and makes math more accessible and engaging. So let's move on to number 16. What are some challenges teachers face when integrating ICT in instruction? Teachers often face several challenges when integrating information and communication technology or ICT in math instruction. One major issue is the limited access to reliable internet or devices, especially in under-resourced schools. Lack of training or confidence in using digital tools can also hinder the effective integration. Additionally, some students may become distracted by technology, making classroom management more difficult. Teachers may also struggle with finding curriculum aligned digital resources or adapting existing materials. Overcoming these challenges requires strong support systems, professional development, and careful planning to ensure technology use is purposeful and equitable. So, number 17. What digital tools used to promote students' engagement in why? To promote students' engagement in math, I would use Kahoot for real-time quizzes, Desmos for graphing activities, ClassCake for interactive problem solving. Kahoot brings excitement and immediate feedback, making students review their sessions fun and it is fun and competitive. Also, thus must allow students to explore functions and visual patterns, encouraging experimentation and inquiry. ClassCake lets students work on math tasks digitally while the teacher monitors and provides live feedback, fostering both independence and support. These tools make more math interactive, encourage participation, and provide instant insight into student thinking. Number 18. How do professional think learner communi- communities contribute to the teacher's growth? Professional learning communities or PLCs contribute significantly to teachers' growth by providing a space for collaboration, reflection, and continuous improvement. In math focus, professional learning communities, teacher can share strategies, analyze students' work, discuss challenges in teaching, concepts like fractions or algebra, and co-plan lessons. Through peer support, teachers gain fresh perspective and develop professionally. PLCs also encourage the use of data to inform instruction and promote a culture of lifelong learning, ultimately leading to more effective teaching and improved student outcomes. So let's proceed to number 19. How do you ensure that your lesson plan addresses three domains of Bloom's taxonomy: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor? In a well-rounded math lesson plan, I can assure that the cognitive domain is addressed to by including problem solving and conceptual understanding such as analyzing number patterns or solving equations. The affective domain is covered by fostering a positive attitude towards math through collaborative group work, real life connections, and opportunities to express mathematical thinking and confidence. To cover the psychomotor domain, especially in the younger grades, I will give hands on activities or hands on topics. I can incorporate activities like using manipulatives such as fraction tiles, algebra tiles, or construction models such as building 3D shapes to physically engage students with the content. By intentionally planning activities across all three domains, I can support a holistic development of math learners. So let's proceed to number 20. What proactive classroom management techniques would you use to minimize disruptions during group work? To minimize disruptions during group work, I use proactive techniques like clearly defined roles such as recorder, speaker, or checker to give each student a purpose. I establish group norms early, like listening respectfully and staying on task, and model what effective collaboration looks like. I also use visual timers and structured tasks with clear outcomes to keep group focus. Circulating the classroom, offering feedbacks helps maintain engagement, and using nonverbal cues like hand signals reduces interruption. These strategies create a structured, respectful environment and supports productive group work. So let's proceed to question number 21. How do you respond to a student who frequently challenges your authority in class? This is one of the most hardest questions for me. So, when a student frequently challenges my authority in class, I would address the behavior calmly as possible and professionally as possible, aiming to understand the root cause of this behavior. Privately, I would speak to the students to express their behavior affects the class and listen to their perspective. I would reinforce classroom expectations while offering support, such as providing more engaging tasks or goals during lessons to promote responsibility. And of course, establishing a relationship based on respect and consistency helps the students feel valued while maintaining a positive learning environment for all. And documenting incidents involving parents or counselors may also be appropriate if the behavior of the students persists or if he keeps on challenging me. Number 22. Which specific educational apps or digital tool would you integrate in teaching fractions and why? So, to teach fractions, I would integrate Math Learning Center's fraction app, as this tool offer interactive fraction manipulatives. Students can visualize part of a whole, compare fractions, and explore equivalent fractions by dragging and combining visual representations. These tools help bridge the gap between conceptual and procedural understanding by manipulating base bars or circles. Students develop a strong sense of how fractions work, which is much more effective than just memorizing rules. These apps are accessible, intuitive. This app is accessible, intuitive, and enhance engagement, especially for visual learners. Number 23. How do you ensure that technology use remains purposeful and not just distraction to your lesson? Um, to ensure that technology use is purposeful in my class. In our math lesson, I will begin by identifying clear learning objectives and selecting digital tools that directly support my goals. For example, if the objective of my lesson is to graph linear functions, I would use Desmos instead of unrelated apps or games. I set limits, provide structured tasks, and digital rubrics or guiding questions to focus students' activity. Monitor students' screen if, of course, possible, and establishing tech use norms to prevent misuse. And reflection at the end of a tech based activity, such as short discussion or journal entry, which will help reinforce the learning and confirms that the technology supported, not replicated the not replaced the instruction. So number 24. How would you explain the difference between procedural and conceptual understanding in teaching algebra? So, in teaching algebra, procedural understanding refers to knowing how to carry out steps, such as solving equations using inverse operations. For instance, a student might know the step to isolate a variable but do not understand why they work. Conceptual understanding, on the other hand, involves the grasping of underlying principles, just such as recognizing that solving an equation is about maintaining equality and finding a value that makes both sides equal. A student with conceptual understanding can explain why subtracting the same number from both sides keeps the equation balanced. In effective math teaching, both types of understanding are important. Such procedures provide efficiency, while concepts provide meaning. Together, they build strong and flexible learners.